What's good, people? It's your girl, Miss Hindzz, and this is the Vibes of Us Sessions. Today's guest is Poet RS. How you doing today?
What's good, P? You all right?
I'm good. It's so nice to finally meet you in person. I know I see you on Insta Live all the time, and I must say, I know I say it all the time, but you blow me away every single time with your performances, and I'm just like, how the hell did he come up with this? Like, I actually want to know. I want to know two things. I want to know how you come up with the wordplay, number one. And I want to know how you memorize the whole thing, because like I know every artist has a creative process, and for example with rappers, they memorize things by having the beat and you kind of rap to the beat and then that's how you remember it. But with you, there's no beat, there's nothing, it's just you. And obviously you've got your rhythm, but I wanted to know, like, how do you remember what comes next? Like, how do you do that, and how you actually come up with it?
You getting me to spill my secrets.
Listen, I need to know. I've been waiting to ask.
How I come up with it, that's a difficult one because inspiration comes from everywhere. So like I'll be walking outside and I'll see a bird and I'll be checking the flight of the bird, and then before you know it, I've got a 4-bar setup in my head. Yeah. And I'm like, from a bird?
Yeah.
I surprise myself sometimes. So I'm not too sure. But I think what it is that I'm very much in tune with what's around me. So I get inspiration and it just transcends through me. So I can't even say like, oh, like I did this. Like I was just given the thinking ability to handle the inspiration.
You gotta give me more than that, because the wordplay, that didn't just come from nowhere. That, like, the way that you put certain words together and then you go back and then it's like, I'm like, whoa, how did we get here? It's like, it's so cool, honestly. So how does that happen?
The wordplay is, I look at words a lot, you know, like I don't read a dictionary, don't get it twisted. Like, I'm not that bad. But like, I look at words a lot and I try to break down words. So like, I've got a poem that's about bread, but it's actually about like being on the roadside. So I was like, I only really know the bread I grew up with, like that hard dough bread, you know? And I was like, hard dough? I was like, hard dough? I was like, okay, I got this. Yeah. And then I've got a line where I was like, from the time we pump a nickel into the business. And I was like, you know, pump a nickel bread. So I really try to break down words and try to find the words behind them. And then that's how I kind of fit it into the pieces. Yeah. But they have to really go with the message. Like I wouldn't just like put a random word in there.
This is what I was gonna say to you. So it never sounds like forced, or like, you know, when certain, God forgive me, you know, when certain rappers will like drop wordplay, but it's like, it was really like you're reaching with that one. It's, you went round 2 times and then came back to that. It was too much. You know what I mean? It's like, no, just stop. But with you, it's like the way you do it, it's so smooth. It's like, it hit me and I was just like, whoa, where did that come from? Like, it went all the way around and that's the one. And I was like, you know, no, real talk. It's like proper, I don't know, man. It's just very creative, and I love the way that you do it and the way that you write. It's very, very, like, it's creative, but it's so talented. Like, you have to be a specific person to drop it that way. And yeah, like, because I've listened to a lot of spoken word artists in my time, and like, they're good, but it's something unique about you. And I must say, it is very different, and it really does stand out.
Well, I appreciate that.
No problem. I'm just being very honest. And in terms of like memorizing, how does that work?
So memorizing is difficult, right? I actually struggle with memorizing sometimes, like especially the longer poems. So I have to really find a word. So I kind of treat it like where you will go out, kind of like Dora the Explorer, you know, we Dora the Exploring right now. So I got my map. I'm like, okay, I got my landmarks. So certain words will be my landmarks. So I can get to that word and I'll be like, okay, cool. So I'm here now. And I'll try to remember that chunk. Right? So I call it chunking. I'll try to remember that chunk. And then from the time I've got that, I'm like, all right, cool. Bam, let's move on to the next chunk. And then I'll do that. And then I'll set up another word as a landmark. And then another word. But I think with the wordplay, it ties in nicely because I know that I'm going to talk about this and I'm going to say like a word like Capri Sun. I'll be like, bam, Capri Sun. So I know after Capri Sun, this next 4 bars is coming up or this next 8-bar setup is coming up, and I'll be like, right, Barbie, bang, okay. So then that one's coming up. So that's how I'm doing it now. It is tough though, I will say that. And like
it looks tough, but you make it look easy. I can't lie. You make it look easy, but it looks very hard.
It is hard. And I think also don't be afraid to mess up. Because sometimes I'll be just like in my mirror, just going for it. I'll be like, oh, what's that word? And I'll be like, all right, cool, let's just go back to the top again. And so I kind of do it like that. But yeah, not too many secrets though.
Okay. I see you like holding back a little. You're not giving me the full information just in case.
Just in case. Copyright.
All right, cool. So, but like, I don't understand what made you want to do spoken word as opposed to like being a rapper, because like everybody wants to be a rapper these days. So obviously like poetry and rap is very similar. So what was it that made you think, yeah, I want to do spoken word?
I kind of fell into spoken word.
Okay.
So like I was writing to heal myself. And that fell into spoken word. And I wrote a very like, what's the word? I wrote a piece that not many people would, feel it kind of thing. Because the message behind it was about the use of the N-word. And I never I knew about spoken word. I like poetry. Like, I'm going to embarrass myself. But back in the days when I was like 15, I used poetry to like talk to girls.
Do you know what? That's not a bad thing at all, because like, I remember when a guy came up to me at uni one time and said, I write poetry. And I was like, okay.
It's different.
It's not something to be ashamed of. It's beautiful. I think it's very nice when people can express their self in different ways, whether it's like dance or singing or poetry or whatever it is. And it's important for people to have their own creative outlet.
Where was you when I was 15?
Okay, so you fell into poetry.
Yeah, I fell into it.
Spoken word.
I was just writing just to heal myself. And then I noticed that the more I was writing, the more it was kind of flowing into poetry. And I think I've always had the wordplay. It's not as strong as it is now. Obviously, I've had to develop that.
Oh, come on, Dad. You got to work for that shit.
Trust me. But I've always had like the wordplay. I've always kind of thought about dissecting certain words.
Yeah.
Now I'm just kind of like really like infused into it. But at the same time, I've always loved rap. Like I'm influenced by hip hop, grime, R&B, rap. Like I remember back in the days in the playground, 20 man around the Sony Ericsson, busted those 4 bars, like thinking they're Kano and Getson. You know what I mean? And you got like, you have the guys that are like proper good with the literacy and like, yeah, Wretch 32, So I've always had that as like my backup. I've always had that as something that's been infused inside of me.
Yeah.
So then to kind of put it into spoken word, it wasn't really like a step up, or it wasn't really like a step to the left or the right. It was just kind of natural to go into it. And I've only really been doing it since 2019.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like properly?
Like that's the actual beginning of my spoken word journey, like November 2019.
Oh, wow. So when you was 15, you were just doing poetry? It wasn't actually
I was learning poetry in school.
Yeah.
And I liked it, so I used it to try to like, talk to girls and that.
It didn't work?
I won't tell you the percentage rate, but it's all right.
You're really not trying to spill the beans, boy.
It's over 50%. It's over 50%.
That's good enough. That's fair.
Yeah. But I never like wrote anything back then. I just, apart from like, lessons and whatever have you, I never wrote anything. I just liked the way it sounded.
Okay.
I thought it had a nice cadence, a nice flow. Similar to like Def Jam poetry, used to listen to that back then. It had a nice cadence, a nice flow, but I didn't bother with it how I'm bothering with it now. Like it wasn't my life back then. It's my life now.
Cool.
And I love the way it just naturally unfolds.
Definitely. So where do you want this whole spoken word journey to take you? What's the plan for the rest of the year? Where do you want to go with it?
I've got that pinky in the brain mentality. I'm trying to take over the world.
Okay.
Nah, not even. Not like, in terms of my spoken word poetry, I want to be up there with the best, like George the Poet. I want to be up there with those guys, Black Chakra from Baltimore. But at the same time, I want to give back to the community. Like I'm a big advocate of giving back to the community. So right now, I facilitate workshops called Open Mind Workshops. And we deal with writing, we deal with poetry for healing. And people, they come onto the workshops, and then obviously it's on Zoom because of COVID and blah, blah, blah. And, we work with them for like an hour. And then, you know, we go away, give them a little task to do, you know, go away, do some writing, this, that, and the other. And it's been amazing so far. So I always want to have that thing where I'm giving back to people. Like, I'm not just a spoken word poet, I'm a human as well. So that's kind of my journey, is to get to the top of the top with poetry and also raise people up to become the best version of themselves. Because you're never going to heal the world if you're just selfish, you know?
Of course, definitely. I'm a big advocate for that as well. I definitely think that giving back to people and helping in whatever way that you can, but also allowing others to be able to express themselves. Like I said to you before, I think giving people a creative outlet or platform to be creative and express themselves is very, very important.
Yeah.
So speaking of performances, I've realized that you come across very confident in the Insta Lives when you're performing your spoken word pieces. Have you done a lot of performances in the past? Or have you done any performances, like live performances on stages and stuff?
Yeah. My first performance gave me that confidence because I performed in a place that you should not perform in on your first performance.
So where was that?
So it was in Streatham in the Hideaway, they call it.
Okay.
And it was with a very, very huge poetry group called Flow Vortex. And I didn't know they were big. Like, I simply had a poem. I told my friend who's an English teacher, and he was like, "This is good, man. You should go on stage." And I was like, "All right, cool." So like during the half term, I was like, poetry stages in London. It was the first one that come up. So I was like, boom, applied for it. They were like, "Yeah, come true." I was like, "Say no more." So I got there, and I didn't realize, but the crowd was like 100 people, and I was like, "Yo,
for a first performance, that's a lot."
I was like, "This is nuts." So I performed a very like controversial piece, the one I was saying about the N-word, and it was really good. I mean, don't get me wrong, my performance was terrible. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you. My performance was awful.
I mean, if it's your first performance, you're allowed to be bad.
Yeah, but it was received so well, and I figured from that moment, I was like, well, if I can do that, then I can do anything. So I've performed with like Poetic Unity. I went back to Flow Vortex as well. I was like, I need to just squash these nerves and come back here. And I performed twice there that day. And it was amazing. Like, they even said like the confidence that you have now as opposed to back then was incredible. And I've just learned just by watching people that inspire me to like perfecting it myself, like, you know, talking to myself, you know, rapping to myself. And yeah, I think when things open up again, I'm going to be like, pow, I want to go everywhere.
Well, 21st of June, put that in your calendar because we already got Open Mic Mondays booked up.
Listen, that's and like we're gonna 2 days after my birthday. You know?
Is it? Yeah. Oh, see, you have no excuse. You have to come and do this. You have to. It's going to be crazy.
I'm ready.
I think everyone will love it. I think, like you said, even though you weren't very confident when you performed the first time and your performance wasn't great, but I feel like it's the message. People receive the message and that's what really they connect with more than anything. So I will look forward to your performance.
Can't wait to be there.
So for the rest of the year, what have you got planned for us?
Oh, that's a big question. You really trying to make me spill my secrets?
Listen, that's what you came here to do. What did you think you came here to do?
I don't know, a couple of tea and biscuits, you know, no, chit-chat.
No, we want all the tea.
So I'm developing the workshops, open mind workshops. It's actually going really well. Like the first 5 are being laid out or have already started, to be fair. And then after that, I want to take a month's break and then come back with another 5. So definitely facilitating the workshops. Applying for grants because I've got a few projects going on that are quite big in terms of like videos for my poetry. And also next year, God willing, I've got a massive project going on called Moving Creatives. It's me and a friend of mine called Sia Gerard. He's a dancer. And we've got 9 creative people that are going to be put inside a house and for 10 days. And they've got 10 days to create a piece of work. But every day is a theme and all the themes kind of roll into one kind of big thing. So they'll be given a theme for the day. And during that day with the workshops and everything we got put on, they have to create a piece of work.
In one day?
In one day. On the moment,
my God.
in one day.
No pressure.
Nah, not at all. You got this easy. They got to create a piece of work. And then after that, we're going to do like a big show about it, you know. It's going to be documented and it's going to be recorded like as a documentary. So with that being said, like there's a lot of work that kind of goes into that. And unfortunately, because of COVID, it was supposed to happen this year, but certain places that we looked at and everything else, they're now closed down. So obviously we took a step back and we said, look, we'll just tackle it next year, you know, when everything kind of sorts itself out.
Yeah.
So that's the big project.
Okay, so in terms of the workshops, are they for people of all ages, or can anyone take part, and how can they take part?
So anyone can take part. 18 plus though, because, you know, liability, insurance, stuff like that. I'm not trying to go to jail.
Okay.
So anyone can take part. It doesn't have to be writing. Again, if you are trying to heal and you haven't found like a way to heal, writing could be your way of healing.
Yeah.
You know, so anybody can really take part. And you just need to DM me Instagram at poet_rs. Or my email, rohansamuel@hotmail.co.uk, and I'll just get back to you with like times and dates and everything else. Obviously it's on Zoom. So for now anyway, but when everything sorts out after like, you know, June, we'll like get a proper space and, you know, we'll sort it out properly.
Okay, sounds great. And in terms of the grant that you was talking about, have you tried to reach out to the Arts Council? Because they always have different grants and stuff happening for creatives, and I think something like this, they would definitely want to support something like for the cause.
I reached out to the Arts Council, but again, like when we were doing all of the grants and stuff, like maybe a month later, COVID hit. So it was like they just stopped all of the grants because, you know, no one knew what was going on and this, that and the other. But now sort of things are starting to ease up. We've gone back to Arts Council. We've gone to a few other places as well, like BAG. They're really cool. They give grants like every month. So we've gone to these places, you know, just to sort of like talk to them, see what's going on, if they could bless us with a grant. And I think the more things start to open up, the more like grants and things like that will start to become more apparent. But for now, everything's a bit like in the air. So we're kind of just easing up, getting everything that we need to get sorted out. Everything we can control first, we control it. And then we'll tackle the rest afterwards.
Definitely. I think timing is key. And I wish you all the best with everything.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure having you here. And I can't wait for your performance. And now we have an exclusive Vaswas performance from Poet RS.
I need discipline. Because there's a child in me that wants to break free. Shackled by the bondage of adulthood, the child in me is deleting all aspects of adulthood that do not stabilize my mental stability. You see, the adult in me feels like he needs to conform to society in order to survive. The child in me is screaming for nurture. It's time I got you understand that the child in me is just as important as the adult. Warring with your inner child may leave you sunken, defenseless. No need to battle ships when you can develop armadas in order to connect for the sake of your mental survival. Yeah, at times it feels like I'm searching these words and the word search of puzzles. Life leaving me at the crossroads trying to cross words. My mind feels like it's been scrabbled. You yell out timber. I'm yelling out Jenga. Every time I'm chopped down into despair. Adult life has me trying to guess who I really am. Putting on a 9-to-5 persona seems to be the appropriate time to act adult. So the child in me gets twisted, pull it, bop it, and squash back into its Polly Pocket into this recreation time. Recreating a time of mental distress. The child in you should not be subdued by what society tells you their perception of a true adult. You remember back in the days when you was a child? And you had dreams of what the adult life would be like. Whatever happened to those dreams? Did you let it fade away like an etch a sketch because the arts and crafts felt too childish to be displayed in your brain's Pictionary? Did life's experience leave you on a twister when you gained a so-called understanding of a real world? Looking at DD whilst playing Dexter's Laboratory, hoping you can create a way to maneuver through life. Instead, understanding that adulthood is the operation set from the times where your ABC blocks became stepping stones for you to build upon, and now you can play Tetris. You do not need to transform yourself into what life tells you. Camouflage yourself to look like Barbie and Ken. Stretch arms strong enough to hold life by a thread and then yo. Listen, this isn't a game, boy. The power ranges so far in you, so let your inner child be free to play at all times. Instead of rat racing in this world on hot wheels that will decide to buckaroo you off the track because you didn't check us on the fact that the rat race will have you in a domino effect. You see, the child in you has a special ability, similar to a Street Fighter Hadouken invoking dolphins of childlike nature to make you feel at ease with your own self. let go of all things you perceive as being a child and just take life as it comes. You see, that's the beauty of a child. They see the world differently. Their eyes aren't so Jurassic Parked in times where it was unfathomable to believe that Flintstones can become Jetsons. Did it ever come across to you that listening to your inner child could leave you with the mental stability to combat adulthood, you mortal? Or were you so concerned with the pitfalls and pressures of adulthood that splitting yourself into 3 different people to overcome stress had you looking like Ed, and Eddie? Your inner child should not be something to discard like an old toy. So when I said I need discipline, it was never to get rid of the child in me. More to understand the balance of the 2 roles so I can roll in between the 2. Bridge the gap wearing baby gap and understand that the child in me is there to protect me from adulthood. Connecting the dots to eat doesn't have to be a race against life. We don't play Pac-Man. Childlike playing is the perfect antidote. You know, I don't think you heard me. Childlike playing is the perfect antidote, so walkie-talkie with me. And let's create for the sake of creating. I'm proud to be childish because the world is so much happier when viewed through a child's eyes. Dispense of your adulthood responsibilities in childlike moments and instead, discipline the adult in you.